Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Master Your Mindset podcast. Once again, I have a really, really special guest here who's actually coming in to talk about conversations that I haven't really had so much on the podcast. Today, we have Bree. I'll let you introduce yourself, but Bree is a fitness and mindset coach, and I had to add this in there. Also, your number one hype girl. So, welcome to the Master Your Mindset podcast, Bree.
Thank you so much for having me. I love being on podcasts. This is only my second podcast that I've been on, but it's just so much fun. So yeah, I'm a fitness and mindset coach. I have a gym and I do online coaching as well. And yes, self-proclaimed, but also from my clients, number one hype girl. I'm very high energy, loud. I love dancing. I love just being the motivator, being the supporter, and really just bringing out the best in people in all areas, not just in the gym. So yeah, hype girl is something that I've kind of coined now, but thank you so much for having me on.
I love that. Yeah, I had to bring that in there. But so I would love for you to start and telling the listeners your story in terms of where you were versus where you are now and the in-between journey to becoming a fitness and mindset coach.
Yeah, so I've always grown up playing sport, being really active, loved going to the gym, and yeah, my journey when I first started in health and fitness, I was clueless. I had no idea what I was doing, so I used YouTube, and I'd look at things on Instagram, and I'd just go in and make things up, and I felt really lost and a little bit scared, a bit uncomfortable, and just so much misinformation. I felt really confused about what do I need to do, what's going to get me results, how do I do things, what do I eat, how do I move, all these things. So that kind of inspired me to then go and study. Like when I was in school, I loved doing PE. I did sport coaching in school. I did business, all the things. And then I left school to do my Cert 3 and 4 in fitness. And I loved that so much. I was like, this is my jam. I'm in my element. I love learning about this. And it was so cool because I was already training and going to the gym. I would go and learn things and then I'd straight away apply it at the gym. And yeah, it just felt really empowering to be able to have more knowledge of what to actually do in the gym and what was going to help me and my body to be able to perform the best and actually go out and achieve things that I set for myself. So essentially, the way I got into that was not only because I was passionate about health and fitness myself, but I also didn't want people to feel the way that I did, in the sense of not knowing what to do, feeling lost, feeling confused, feeling like you just go in and it's like throwing stuff at a wall and seeing what sticks. It was really much about how can I learn things not only for myself, but to help other people so that more people aren't in the same shoes that I was in when I first started going to the gym and getting into that part of my journey. So yeah, I started my business, I started PTing, and then I worked for a couple of different gyms as well. Eventually opened up my gym, and then it started doing online fitness coaching. And then I really saw there was a big gap that I felt was missing in the industry in terms of why people weren't getting the results they were getting, wanted to achieve, and why people, they might lose the weight, but then they were still unhappy. And it was just something was missing, and why people couldn't feel like they can apply themselves to not only being healthy in the gym, but healthy in all areas of their life as well. So this is when I kind of really started to getting into my own personal development journey, and then just noticing oh, wow, there's actually so much of this that I feel is missing. And not that it's not spoken about in terms of health and fitness, people's mindset. It's always something that I would talk about with clients right from when I started, but actually going deeper into that to truly be able to understand, oh, okay, wow, this is a limiting belief. Wow, this is why, people can achieve their physical fitness and health goals, but then still not feel fulfilled within themselves and still not feel happy and feel like there's just that missing piece. So that's when I really started getting into mindset coaching and doing different courses and things to build my own skills to then help clients with it. Because I was like, there's so much more that we can offer as coaches to clients, rather than just here's how to do a deadlift and here's what you should be eating and this is how to build confidence in the gym. It's actually teaching people, here's how you can love yourself, here's how you can build a better relationship with yourself, so regardless of your physical achievements, you feel good in yourself. And yeah, actually helping people be consistent and stick to things. Because it's I feel so often people go over the shiny object syndrome of what's new, what's exciting, try that for a few weeks and then kind of look for the next best thing. And it's that's where I feel mindset coaching and working on your mindset is so important, because it teaches you more of that resilience, more of that discipline to be solid in yourself, so that you can follow through with things, be consistent, and yeah, just work on your human rather than just the physical side of things and what you put in your body and that sort of thing. So yeah, that kind of brings me to what I'm doing today. So yeah, still have my gym and then online coaching, but I'm going to be moving overseas very shortly, so I will just be working online. But yeah, I'm super happy that this is kind of the way I went down my path and my journey, and it's so nice to be able to help other people so that less people feel like I did when I first started in the gym.
I love that. And I actually see a lot more PTs moving into both the personal training and the mindset because I mean personally and I know that you do feel like they both go really hand in hand, and I feel like you have to have both of them for it to like really be a big success for you. You want to feel good within your body and looking at your body as well. Like it is a bit of both. So I really love that. I have like a random question, but it's actually a question around the gym. And I know a lot of people, and especially me, when I first started going to the gym, I'm not sure if you had this experience since you seem to, well, I'm assuming you fit in like really nicely. But for those who are trying to start to go to the gym and just worry about, what they're doing, if other people are looking at them, the judgments, what sort of advice would you have around that for those people?
I think it's so funny you say that, being like, oh, it seems like you just fit in. I didn't feel like that at all when I first started. I was probably, I want to say 14, 15 when I first started going to the gym. So I was quite young and I'd, played sports. So I was somewhat coordinated, I'd like to think, but still a new environment. It was still new and scary. And yeah, I think you go into that space thinking like everyone knows what they're doing. Everyone's confident. Everyone, if you're making the slightest little mistake, everyone's going to see that and think, oh my gosh, what's she doing here? Like she doesn't know what she's doing. And it feels like that, but it's really like everyone's probably still lost, still confused, doesn't know if they're doing things right. And it feels like you've got so many eyes on yourself when really like everyone's just there for themselves. And I think coming back to that of like the reason people go to the gym isn't for other people to see what they're doing. It's not so you can go and see who's got the best program or whatever the thing is. It's like you're going there to show up for yourself. So it's like just first of all taking that pressure away of everyone's looking at me. If I have stuff up, like everyone's going to notice and people are going to think bad things of me. It's like no one cares. Like everyone's there to put their headphones in and just like get their session done and do their own thing. So I think that was a huge thing for me. First of all, just like releasing that projection of everyone's watching me. But also, if I was to go back and start my health and fitness journey again now, I would 100% invest in either a coach or group fitness earlier on so that I had more of that knowledge and understanding, because that's for me what built my confidence, was knowing I was doing things correctly rather than just figuring it out. And I think back now, I'm like, oh, it's so cute. I made so many mistakes and tried so many things, but I think that's why, I never gave up, because I was so willing to try. And it's really just like adapting that beginner mindset of it's actually okay that you don't know what to do, and that's totally fine. But there's ways of going about that, and certainly ways so you not only can progress faster, but so you don't hurt yourself. And I think that's a big thing that people oversee. It's like having a coach there, it's really going to set you up for success, because you're going to be doing things that support you and your goals, things that are best for your body, because everyone's different. Everyone, has different anatomy. So the way that we all move, even though a squat might look the same, it's actually going to be completely different for everyone that tries that movement pattern depending on their body type. So it's sort of like having that external support, knowing that, you're doing a good job, knowing that you've got someone to help you make little improvements where you can, is a big thing. But also I think it's just knowing that it's a journey, because it's so commonly marketed that, you've got an 8-week challenge or a 12-week challenge, and you've got to achieve that end goal that you've got in your head within those couple of weeks. And I see some people look up to others on social media and be like, how do I look like you? And how do I get a body like you? Like, not me. I've seen like people talk about that for like people who are really big and have big followings on Instagram. And it's like, they have worked for years to look like that. It's not a quick fix. And I think, yeah, it's really just going into it of like, this is something we should do for our life. And I talk about this all the time. It's like, everyone wants to look good. Everyone wants to feel good in their body. And a lot of people I've trained are younger, and it's like, of course you want to look good now, but I'm like, okay, what about when you're 80? Do you want to be healthy? Do you want to still be able to move? Do you want to have better longevity of your life so you can live a longer and healthier lifestyle? And I think really just adapting that mindset of like, I'm starting this journey and this process so that I'm going to have the best life possible, and I'm not going to have any or limit my physical limitations that it's going to hold me back potentially in my life, by committing myself to going to the gym, to eating healthier, to moving my body and doing things that are going to benefit me long term. But yeah, I think it's definitely knowing that everyone starts somewhere, and you actually get to make mistakes. You get to be a beginner, you get to learn. And that's what makes it so fun. Like I look back now and I'm like, oh, look how much progress I've made. Like I'm so much stronger now. I'm so much more confident now. And if I was just handed that, if I was just like that from day one, it wouldn't feel as rewarding. Whereas now I'm like, that's me. That's my journey. Every like challenge I faced, every mistake I made, that made me the person I am today. And yeah, you get to look back, and I think it makes you really proud of yourself. It's like, wow, all of this compounding effect of all those times that I wanted to give up, or, you know, felt really challenged or felt judged in the gym or whatever, every time I pushed past that, it led me to being someone who now feels really confident in the gym, feels really strong, and loves being in that environment.
This is actually something, well, there was so many gold nuggets in there that I like want to branch off and talk about, but this conversation as a whole is something that I wanted to talk about today anyway, and that's getting out of your comfort zone. So I feel like for those people that aren't comfortable or not used to going to the gym, and it is a mindset thing. Like, they have these stories in their mind. They're like, that person's judging me, this person's watching me, this person's that. It's just stories. It's just that mindset part. But I would love for you to speak to us about, so something that I see a lot is that, you know, people can have their goals or their desires, but they don't actually want to get out of their comfort zone to get it. So they get sad about not having their desires and not seeing how it's even possible for them, when they just don't realize that, I guess, they're putting the excuses in their way because they don't want to get out of their comfort zone. I would love for you to talk to us about just embracing your comfort zone and feeling safe enough to get into your comfort zone to get your end goal, achieve your results.
Yeah, 100%. I love this conversation, and I chat about this all the time with clients, because and it's so cliche, but it's like, your comfort zone will kill you, in the sense of, if you're just going to chill and stay there for your whole life, the way I see it is, it's like, there's so much untapped potential and opportunities and experiences we miss out on if we don't actually get okay with being uncomfortable. And I always say, like, and I use this in one of my recent mindset programs, Girl Got Grit, inspired by the fear of being average. Like, one of my biggest fears in my life is dying with lots of regrets. Not to say that I don't have regrets, like, I'm sure there's a few right now, but do you know what I mean? It's like, I actually want to die with having as least amount of regrets as possible. And the way I see for me to achieve that is to get outside of my comfort zone and push my limits more. So the way I explain it to people is, it's like, you could be missing out, not even could, like, I know you're missing out on so much if you don't actually push your edges and get a little bit uncomfortable. But I think it's, first of all, finding that safety and security within yourself first, and actually learning what it feels like to feel safe in your body, to feel safe and regulate your nervous system, so that when you're pushing those edges and getting uncomfortable, it's knowing that you've got you and you're a safe person to come back to at the end of the day. Because for so many people, like, if you're living in like a hyper aroused state of like everything feels scary, it's like, well, what have you got right now in your life that feels really comforting and grounding for you to come back to? So it's like, when we get closer to those edges and like start to stretch the limits, it's like, have you got that safe anchor to come back to re-regulate and then go and push the edges again? But I explain it like a bubble of like, your capacity, your current comfort zone is like a bubble, and then everything outside of your comfort zone, that's outside of the bubble. So like, when we get outside of our comfort zone, we're pulling those things into the bubble, and that bubble expands. And I kind of think of it almost like a game of like, how cool that we can continuously do scary things so that they no longer become scary, and there's less things external of us that is scary. Does that make sense?
I really love the bubble analogy as well. I actually haven't heard of that. I've heard of analogies, but that one seems really cool. You're bringing it into your bubble and it's expanding your bubble. I really love that.
Yeah, I think like that's just how like I see it in my brain. And yeah, I'm like, how cool that we have these opportunities to do things, to build our confidence, to build trust within ourselves, to build our comfort zone, so that less things are going to disrupt you, that are going to dysregulate you, and all of the things. So it's like, are you actually willing, and how important are your goals to you, to be able to show up in a space that feels scary, in a space that feels unfamiliar, to actually achieve those things? Right? Because it's like, if it didn't feel scary, you probably would already be doing the thing, and you'd already have ticked that goal off and achieved the thing. So it's like, are you so willing and committed to feeling uncomfortable, to pushing your edges, to getting outside your comfort zone to achieve that thing? Or is it just like a mediocre desire that looks interesting, that might be nice to have, that might be nice to go after, but you actually would rather just stay comfortable instead of achieving that thing?
I love that.
A huge thing for me when it came to like just being more consistent and having more discipline and just grit, essentially, was getting really honest and direct with myself of, you actually just need to get rid of your excuses. Like, they help you and they serve a purpose for us because they allow us to stay comfortable, and they kind of stop us from having to push ourselves So for a lot of people, like their excuses are really soothing in the sense of like, oh, I'll just blame things external of me so I don't have to take responsibility for where I'm not moving, where I'm not doing the thing, where if I like quote unquote fail, it's not on me, it's on that thing that I'm blaming. But I had to get to a point where I was like, Bree, like, what are you doing? Like, you want this. You want to be that person that shows up no matter what. You want to be that person that is so determined and consistent. And it's like, I actually gave myself an option not to not do the thing.
Yeah.
A lot of words, but do you know what I mean? It's like, I'm actually not giving myself the option to not show up, to not commit myself to this. And it's like the whole story around like people fearing failure. It's like, what's scarier? Not achieving those things, not reaching your potential, or making a few mistakes along the way.
Yeah, I love that. And I agree with the excuses. You just have to like look at where your excuses are, because sometimes we're like so unconscious to our excuses and they're just letting us run on autopilot, and that is controlling our lives. So I love that, because you have to just be able to see your excuses and then just let them go. Like just, and I know that this is something that you say a lot, is choose you over your excuses, because if you let your excuses rule your life, you're never going to get to the place that you want to be. But if you actually just like see your excuses and be like, no, not an excuse anymore, I choose me, you can let go of any excuse that comes in your way, and you can actually have a clear path to doing what you want to do with confidence and actually achieving your goals.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's actually so simple. Like people look for processes and look to overcomplicate things. Like I need this 10-step thing to get me to my goals and to be better than my excuses. It's like, no, you've actually just got to be really honest and direct. Like what matters more? Are you willing to do the hard things? Are you willing to do whatever's required? If not, that's okay. But don't complain to me when you don't have the thing that you want. And I say it straight, because it's like sometimes I think people need that wake-up call of, it's like, I always say, do better, be better.
Yeah.
Choose your hard. Like, do you want to just continue with what you're doing, what you currently have in your life, what your environment feels like, or do you actually want to go after more? And I always say to people, like, that potential is always there. It's just whether or not, first of all, you're conscious that you have more potential and more to go after, more to give, or if you're willing to. And I think a huge part for me when like stepping into that was looking at the people I was surrounding myself with. And it's talked about so much, but it's so important. The people that you have in close proximity to you, are they high achievers? Are they people that actually go out and put the effort in and go after their goals? Are they people who hold you accountable when you say you're going to do something? Or do they just like soothe you and validate you of like, oh no, that's okay. Like you didn't get there this time. That's all right. You did a really good job. Like that feels really nice for us to be validated in those things. But it's like, is it actually helping you to get to where you want to be? No. So it's looking at, yeah, like, do you have those friendships? Do you have people in your family, like your partner, whoever it might be, that actually are helping you to be more responsible for your actions and call you forward into being that person that doesn't let their excuses get the better of them?
Yeah, I totally agree. I can also see how you've been deemed the number one hype girl. You have this ability to help people in a way that's very like empowering. And actually, yeah, this is a good segue. Something I saw you put up on a post a few days ago, and this is actually going back into the coaching industry, but was that you see a lot of people that are making money and coaches that are actually doing it from a disempowering way, in terms of like, you know, this is your problem, this is how we can fix it, rather than from an empowering place. And I actually have seen that you're very good from coming from a really empowering place. Yeah, I would love for you to chat about that. And because I also see this not only happening in the coaching industry, but also just in friendships, in just in all humans. I see that a lot of people might have different opinions on things. So when they want to give their opinion or their piece of advice to their friend or something, they might say, you know, this is your problem, this is what you should do. But instead, we could go from a more empowering way instead of just pinpointing it like this, because that doesn't feel good. That feels harsh. So I would love your advice, even just like for people in the industry, but also just for everyone. How can we come from a place of lifting people up with us rather than tearing them down to lift them up?
Yeah, I love this. And thank you for that. That's such a cool reflection. I think what I've really been practicing as a coach is more stepping into my directness, because I know it serves a purpose. And as I said, like that's where I had to get honest and direct with myself of like, cut the bullshit. Like you need to do better and choose a different option. Otherwise, you're just going to complain as to why you're still here and why you're not actually going after things. So I think it's not like soothing people in their excuses of like, hey, no, that's okay. Like, try again. Like, we'll get there. It's empowering people in a way of like, okay, here's where you're potentially not showing up in a way that you should. Here may be your problem. And yeah, I think it's not necessarily a bad thing to point out people's problems and where they can improve on things. Like, I think constructive criticism is really important. Learning it, okay, here's where we can improve, but it's not leaving people in that. It's like, okay, here's what you might be struggling with right now. I can see that this is something that's holding you back. I'm actually going to help you to work through that. And this is different ways, and like a really big emphasis on different, because we know everyone is going to respond different to different. How many times am I going to say different? Like, one method doesn't fit all. And I talk about this so much in the health and fitness space, like when it comes to some people track their macros, some people don't. Just telling people, okay, I want to lose weight, we'll track your macros. No, that's not going to work for everyone. So it's like, okay, here's a problem. I'm going to give you different solutions and we can work together. Okay, what's going to be best for you so that you can move through that problem so it's no longer a thing for you and feel really good and really empowered because it's a way that feels good for you. And just touching on the good part, it might be the best suited way for you, but it doesn't mean there's not going to be challenges or feelings of discomfort along the way, because as I said, like, growth requires us to get a bit uncomfortable. So it doesn't always mean that it's smooth sailing. Like, there's going to be challenges along the way, but it's also, yeah, just working together. And this is why I think having coaches, having people in, you know, your space that actually are supportive of you is so important, because they can help you figure out what actually works for me. What do I like to do? And what's going to be my best approach to dealing with this problem, quote unquote problem, to work through that. And yeah, it's, as I like that post that I was talking about, the fitness industry makes so much money off selling things to people that aren't sustainable. Like, think about meal plans, think about like the skinny teas, the shakes, the like shred challenges, all the things, like so not my vibe, but they're essentially like, they get people results, but then they're left feeling like, okay, I don't actually have a long-term solution to, you know, maintaining this weight loss or feeling good in myself or whatever the thing might be. So it's like, I get really honest with people because I'm like, I don't want you to go through that anymore. I don't want you to have to keep going through this cycle and feeling at the end of the day lost of what next. It's like, let me help you with these problems, but in a way that you can continue to help yourself after that time. And I say this to my clients, I'm like, we're not in a long-term relationship. Like, I love long-term relationships with clients, but I'm like, you can actually leave me whenever you want. I want you to feel like you want me here, not that you need me here, in the sense of I'm going to give you everything you need so you're good on your own. And if you choose to have me here and if you want my support, amazing. I love that. But not, yeah, just like giving people a quick little short-term fix and then leaving them and then they're like, okay, cool.
I actually agree. And okay, I'm not in the fitness industry or anything like that, but something that I would always think about is like, I want it to be my lifestyle. So it's like, I hear a lot of people saying like, I've got a wedding coming up or I'm getting married or something. So let's do like the quick shred or the quick 6-week challenge or whatever it is. And it's like, yeah, but like, that's, I guess at the moment, it's not your truth. Like, you're going to look like that for your wedding photos, but that's not you as a whole. Wouldn't you want that to be you in general, like just as your life? So wouldn't you want to continuously work towards it instead of like going hard for 6 weeks and then looking like that and then going back into your normal patterns? Wouldn't you want to feel good, look good, and all of the things always? Wouldn't you want to make it like a lifestyle? So it's really cool and refreshing to hear something like that, because yeah, you're right, like a lot of people probably want the longevity with clients, like the long-term relationship, which they can always have. But you're so right with, you don't want someone to be codependent of you. You want them to know how to do it. You want to teach them, you want to guide them, you want to support them. And if they want to be there with you for longer, that is so cool. But from the intention of this is support, you don't need me, because then there's mindset work to come in there already type thing. So it's really refreshing to hear from someone like that, because sometimes it does feel pressuring, like you have to stay here because there's always going to be more and you need this person to learn more.
Yeah 100%, and I couldn't agree more. And like, in terms of those seasons in your life where maybe you do want to like push a little bit harder for a short-term period, like I think that's fine, but it's also not going from that like yo-yo of extremes from like doing all the things and feeling like under the pump, like I have to look this way for this one event, and then just completely backing off from that, and like all those healthy habits go out the window. It's very much that lifestyle approach. And I was literally having a conversation with a lady yesterday. She's like, I've seen my chiropractor once a week for the past 18 years. I was like, 18 years? And she's like, yeah, he never gives me any stretches or things to help with my shoulder pain. I'm like, oh my God, imagine how much money she spent with this one chiropractor, and she still goes back every week. Like, serves a purpose short term. But I was like, wow, like there's so many lifestyle things that you could be given to help with this. So it's like you're not having to go weekly. It might just be a every couple of months check-in. I was like, wow, this is why I like to be the voice of people, to understand that you can do things and make changes, so that, as you said, it's a lifestyle. Like working on your mind, working on your body, it's something that I believe is a lifelong commitment for yourself every single day till the day that you die, rather than just a short-term in and out, give me a solution real quick. Because it's essentially like that's dictating, I believe, the quality of your life, the person that you are. If you're someone that works on yourself, instantly you're going to feel better about yourself, because you know that you're making positive changes for you, whether that be mentally, like getting outside, going for a walk in the sun, like doing a meditation once a week, whatever the thing might be, the bare minimum, like basic things, it doesn't matter. But like just knowing that you're working on yourself, that in itself is so powerful for people when it comes to building on your self-worth, having a better relationship with yourself. But then that overflows into all areas of your life, because I truly believe, the better person we are for ourselves, the better person we are for other people, and the better other relationships in our life will be as well.
This is so good. I love this. And I actually truly feel like I haven't had a PT on. I've had Danny Kennedy on, but we talked a lot about mindset. So I haven't really had a PT on that can talk about, mindset as well, in terms of from like the fitness industry as well. And I think body image and the way that you look at yourself externally, internally, is actually such an important message. And I love the mission and the messages that you have out there. It's really cool. I was just thinking about my podcast in a whole, and the different types of coaches and the different types of people I have on. And it's really cool to hear everyone's different messages and different missions, because that means I feel like this world is becoming a better place with all these different expertise coming in, and knowledge and the education. I think it's super important to have, be educated in so many different areas. So a bit of a side note, but I really want to bring something in, and this is to do with the big move that's coming up for you. And when I say big move, I mean in the literal sense. You're moving to Canada, which is big and huge. So congratulations. I know this is such an exciting move. I would love to hear, like, in the moment, because you are moving in about 3 weeks' time. I would love to hear how, because it feels big, how you are going with all of this, because there's the side that's really, really exciting. And I'm assuming there's a side that there are like challenges, and that could mean anything. That could be mindset. That could mean, like we were talking about earlier before we pressed record, all the things that you have to get done before you move. Like, I would love to hear how you are going through this entire journey leading up to you moving.
Yeah. This is really cool. And I think what I'm going to speak to in this conversation, like I'm physically moving, like I'm moving countries, but I feel what we'll chat about is going to be relevant for a lot of people if you've thought about, changing careers or leaving a job that doesn't serve you anymore, or a relationship, or whatever the thing might be is, because it can be so much of that, coasting in comfort of I'm good, I'm safe, everything's comfortable, everything's familiar, like I'm happy where I am. But it's like, oh, what's out there, what's possible for me? And I love that we talked about this. We had a conversation about this the other day, because Jessie's been here, there, everywhere. She's done so many incredible things, and it was so cool to have someone who's done that, just to kind of chat to, because I've never moved. I live at home still. I've never moved like states. I've never moved country. So this is like really big and new for me. And it was that part of feeling like, wow, I'm actually kind of grieving my current life and the person that I am, because I know as soon as I land over there, like everything's going to change for me. And I know there's going to be so many initiations and challenges and things to stimulate my growth and build on the person that I am. Because as you like, they're just starting a new job, starting a new life, like meeting new people, new friends. I know I'm going to be living a completely different life, not completely, but quite a different life to what I'm living right now. So it was that fully understanding and accepting of, okay, wow, I'm not going to be in my house, in my room. I'm not going to have my family with me. I'm not going to have my friends. Like, I'll talk to them every day, I'm sure, but just not that routine. And I've been in my routine. I love routine. I love being organized. I love being on top of things, but I've been comfortable for so long. And I've done this for so long. Like, of course, having a business and like different things, there's always challenges. And I believe like just going through life, observing more of yourself, there's always new things that you can work through as a person that can present with different challenges. But I'm like, there's nothing that's like this, like moving countries, moving to the other side of the world. I'm like, there's so much that's going to come with this. So I think it was just that like, whew, okay, wow, like I am feeling a bit overwhelmed. I'm feeling a bit like, what's my life going to look like? I'm also having to process the fact that, yeah, I'm not going to have all these people that mean the most to me right now. I'm not going to be able to give them a hug if I need a hug. Just little things like that. So yeah, I feel good now that I kind of have processed that a bit more. And yeah, there's definitely like appointments, things that you've got to organize, like getting your life together. You can't just decide one day you're going to pack up and leave tomorrow. It's certainly a process, like with getting your visa and like a job and a house and everything over there secured, which I've been so lucky. And I think like just speaking to that self-trust and confidence piece again, I'm really, really grateful for my experience so far because everything has worked out so perfectly for me. And I know that's not the case for everyone, but I truly believe the reason it has is because I've actually just allowed myself to fully trust that things are going to work out for me. And I like have gone into it with that mentality of like, I'm not giving myself the option for this not to work out. Like the job that I got, I am going to be working in Whistler. Like it's a base area operations. It's really cool. It's like the exact, 4 days on, 3 days off. So I can still work on my business and I can go snowboarding. And that's what I wanted. And I got staff housing, which is exactly what I was hoping for too. I manifested that so hard. And before I even went for an interview, I was so solid in I'm getting this job. I'm getting this job. I'm going to get a housing application. I'm going to have a house 2 weeks time. You're going to contact me and I'm going to have this job. And like, that's literally how it went. And I just had this knowing of like, yeah, I'm not giving this an option to not work out for me. And I know that's somewhat delusional to think like that, but I truly believe like we can go through life with these things. And if you believe in manifestation and all the things like that, like there's certainly things that you can do to really, yeah, just trust the process, but also put yourself in a position to make things work out for you. And yeah, as I said, I've been so lucky with how it's all happening. I think a huge part of this, because I've noticed so much and learned so much about myself, and like I haven't even left yet, is allowing myself to surrender to the unknown, which has been so interesting because I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, I really like having control. I really like feeling in charge. I really like feeling organized. And it's really cool. Jessie and I, we've got the same mentor at the moment, Taylor, and she's like, Bree, you have to be okay with not knowing. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's scary. But I'm like, growth, getting out my comfort zone. I'm like, I tell my clients to do this. Here's my initiations right now. So it's really cool just to notice different things coming up of where I have to, yeah, just surrender to things of like, okay, I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know who I'm going to be living with. I don't know essentially like all the ins and outs of how my business is still going to run when I'm over there, which has been really cool to witness myself in. But I think, yeah, just having that self-awareness of noticing when these things are coming up to be like, okay, here's an edge, here's something new. How are we going to deal with this is really cool. But yeah, I don't have any doubts that it won't be incredible and amazing. And I think it's like, so many people I've spoken to are like, Bree, go and do it. These will be the best years of your life and you'll regret not doing it. And like, this has always been a goal of mine, is to live overseas temporarily. And yeah, I love adventure. I love the snow. I love snowboarding. So I'm just like, it's going to be right up my alley. But I think, yeah, what I wanted to speak to in the sense of when people feel like they can't do the thing because they've been stuck in it for so, like jobs is a huge one. And you've potentially come across this, like working with clients and working on their mindset of when people are in, I've been in this job for 5 years, 10 years, I couldn't leave. Like I know the whole company, I know the ins and out of how it runs. Like I don't want to ask for a pay rise and I don't want to go into a different career because I'm so familiar with what I'm doing. So what? Like, see what happens. Like, why not? Why? Life is too short to not try.
Oh, I'm loving this so much. So much. There's so many gold nuggets in this again. First of all, I'm just so happy for you. I'm just so happy that you are doing it and that you're going, and also just the process that you've taken to get here. You as a coach, but also within this whole conversation, we've been talking about getting out of your comfort zone. And you are literally doing that exact thing. You are like the best role model to be talking about this as well, but to actually be doing it because you are doing something that is actually really, really huge, that is getting you out of your comfort zone. So it's really a safe place to be, for people that are trying to, get into that space where they're like, hey, I'm going to get out of my comfort zone now, because they can literally listen to your messages, but also watch you. But it's really cool because you're so right. It is about that self-trust and just having that awareness of, like you've already said, you've learned so much about yourself already, and you haven't even gone yet, which is so, so, so cool. There's room for growth everywhere. And something you sort of mentioned, but I thought about was, if you get out of your comfort zone and you try something and it doesn't work out, the worst case scenario, whether that be a job, whatever it is, worst case scenario is you just go back to doing what you were doing and then try something else again, right? But it's like, that is the worst case scenario. If you don't try the thing and you stay doing what you're doing, you're already living out your worst case scenario and you're not even trying.
Yeah.
So do the thing and try. If it doesn't work, come back, do something else, try, come back, whatever it is, and you'll find your way.
I love that so much. And yeah, it's so funny when you put it in perspective like that. It's kind of like, well, duh, like, why wouldn't I try? But it's just pushing past that initial fear. And just adding on to that as well, I think it's like what I say to clients all the time, just because something didn't work out once doesn't mean it won't work out the next time you try it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, for an interview, got rejected, 6 months later, they're hiring for that position again. Why not apply?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Why not try? Because yeah, worst case, you don't get the job and you just keep doing what you're doing, and that's familiar, that's comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like, do you know what I mean? It's like, it's trying these things, and it's like every time you push past that like little bit of resistance, that little bit of fear, you're building your courage, you're building how brave you can be. And it's that self-trust of knowing, oh, I did something scary today, I did something new today, and I didn't die.
Yeah.
And it's so funny to talk about it in this sense, but like I bring this into clients sometimes of just like letting your nervous system feel safe again. Are you going to die? Yes or no? No. Okay. So go and do it.
Yeah. Oh, I love that so much. I love that so much. I was also thinking, it's like, and I haven't thought about this that much, but when I first started yachting, the first season that I had was super tough. Like, I was on a boat with all Spanish crew, all Spanish guests. I just needed to get my foot in the door. They didn't know how to speak English. There was like a lot of things that was so uncomfortable, and also it just was the weirdest situation. But I knew that I wanted to do this for so many bigger reasons. So I stuck at it, figured it out. And then when I went home, I could have not gone back. I could have been like, no, like I can't. But that I did. And it was when you said, sometimes it doesn't work out the first time, but it could work out the second time or the third time. So I tried the exact same thing again on a different boat. And that is what led me to the next 8 years of my growth in my life. And imagine if I just didn't do that. Imagine if I just didn't try again. It's not that it was a failure, because it was fun and I needed to get that experience, but it was just something that definitely could have stopped me from trying again,
100%. That's so cool. And yeah, it's like, imagine if you didn't. You wouldn't have had those incredible 8 years, and like maybe you wouldn't have been doing what you're doing today.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
It's really just like allowing that whole everything happens for a reason and trusting that, because yeah, it's those small little, not even that was a little moment, but like even the little micro moments all add up for a reason. And I think, speaking to like the fear of failure again, I kind of look at it in the sense of like, nothing's ever a failure, in the sense of like, you learn from things, and then next time you go into that same experience or a similar experience with more knowledge and more wisdom, but also accepting that failure is part of the process. You're going to make mistakes, you're going to have knockbacks. We're humans. I always say, like, we don't have a textbook for life. No one actually knows what they're doing. Like, every single day we wake up and we're like, oh, we're just all figuring this out. Yeah. We're all adults here, but we actually still have no idea what's going on, and that's fine, that's okay. But can you just like back yourself and trust in yourself that you're going to make things work?
Oh, this is incredible. And again, I can see why you've been coined the number one hype girl in such an empowering way. It's just the best. I've had such an amazing chat, Bree. I would love for you to tell us where we can find you, because not even just everything that you can offer and the services that you can provide, but also we want to follow your journey on this big move.
Yes, 100%. I think it's so cool, like, to be able to share more of that and more of my personal life, which I really have been trying to, as you said, as a huge like permission slip, I guess, and just for people to watch along of like, yeah, you can actually do scary things and uncomfortable things, and that gets to be something that's normalized and spoken about more often, so that it's an invitation for more people to actually step outside their comfort zone and do that. So I'm on Instagram. My Instagram is Brianna Jade Coaching. I currently am running Girl Got Grit, which is a 4-week mindset program. So very much touching on the conversation we've had today. So all about confidence, self-trust, pushing your limits, getting outside of your comfort zone, building more grit, more discipline, more resilience, having just higher standards for yourself in all areas of your life. Like that is everything in Girl Got Grit, which is super cool. And then, yeah, I do one-on-one fitness and mindset coaching online too. But yes, I would love, if anyone loved this conversation, for you guys to come on over, and any Canadians that may be listening, holler at me, because I will be coming very soon, which I'm super excited about. But thank you so much for having me on. This has been such a cool chat. I've loved this.
Oh, me too. Thank you so much. And everything will be in the show notes as well. So that'll be really easy to find you. Thanks, Bree. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you. See you guys.